Hi, everybody. I'm Allison Freyberg, and you are in the Writing Lounge. And today we're going to be talking about resumes. And we're going to have a little resume refresher. So if your resume is a little boring, a little cluttered, or you're just not happy with it, we're going to talk about some tips to highlight your achievements and get your resume noticed, even in this age of AI and resume trackers, and the actual humans are going to look at your resume. So let's jump in, shall we? Okay, for those of you who don't know me, I am Allison Freyberg. I am a professor at the University of Redlands, and I teach in the School of Business and Society. I teach leadership communication, I teach business and management consulting, critical thinking, and this Writing Lounge webinar series. And I also take students abroad on business-focused study abroad courses. And when I'm not teaching, you can usually find me leading wine tours in Italy. So if you're interested in those, let me know. My contact information is down below, and welcome to the Writing Lounge. Okay, little resume refresh here. Before I actually talk about what we're going to look at, I want to introduce you to Jean Stevens, who is a Redlands alum. And she has just retired as the CEO of RSM International. And when I take students abroad, we often visit RSM. And one of the most profound visits we ever had was when she said to my MBA students, as an introduction, I know whether I want to work with someone within 7 seconds of meeting them. Everybody's eyes opened up, jaws dropped. We picked up our jaws off the floor. But it's not so surprising, is it? First impressions matter, and first impressions matter with resumes. So we want to make sure that people are seeing what they want to see early, fast, and efficiently. So we're going to talk about purposeful resumes, formats and styles, of course, what to include and what to cut. Most importantly, how to include the information you want to include. And then we will have a few minutes to talk about applicant tracking systems. I do want to take a moment, though, to direct you to one of my favorite resources about resumes and professional development, and that is the Career Contessa. So the link is there at the bottom. Also, if you ever want the slides for these webinars, you can just reach out to me. Okay. Um, so find the Career Contessa. There is so much valuable information there. All right, let's dive in. What is the real purpose of a resume? Honestly, I think it's to illuminate how you're relevant to someone else and their needs as quickly and succinctly as possible. That's it. All right. It's an opportunity for someone to say, okay, tell me more. In that sense, it's not unlike an elevator pitch. For those of you who have seen my my webinar, my Writing Lounge on elevator pitches. It's an opening. That's all. And it's an opening to show how you're relevant, how your skills are relevant. Let's talk about formats and styles and get them out of the way. I'm not going to show you 1,000 resumes about the formats and styles. I'm going to try to hit upon just key elements that are long lasting. The length. So, yeah, 1 page, unless your industry standard is otherwise. For example, I'm in the academic industry where, 100 million pages is the standard. So let's forget about that. 1 page, 1 page. So what are you going to do in that 1 page? The tendency is to cram 1 million words onto that page so that the computer can pick it up. Don't do that. Just don't do that. You know why? Because eventually human eyes are going to see that. And you want those human eyes to want to be there. Okay, don't cram. Fonts, they got to be easy to read. So it's time to retire the Wingdings and the Comic Sans. Now, of course, I know you're not using those, but think about what looks professional for your industry or for the industry you're applying to. Examine the fonts used by that company. I'm not saying mimic them, but look at the styles that they use, right? Try to resonate with that a little bit. Some very reliable fonts are the ones listed here: Arial, Calibri, Cambria, Georgia, Helvetica, and the others listed here: Dido, Trebuchet, Book Antiqua. Again, look at the jobs you're applying to, the companies you're applying to. Look at their fonts. Gain alignment where you can. Margins, again, 0.8 of an inch to an inch all around. You don't want to jam way out to the end of the page. Okay, you do not want to trouble people's eyes. And if people are dragging their eyes more than they anticipate doing so, you're annoying them. And as soon as you annoy someone, you're done. Because if there's 200 screens of resumes to look at, as soon as you annoy someone, you're done. Bullets, use them whenever possible to create clarity and an opportunity for skimming. So there's one thing you're going to notice in everything I'm going to say is there's no simple rules. What there are recommendations, and then there's the purpose for the recommendation. So you don't use bullets just because you use bullets. You use bullets if they're going to create clarity and if they're going to create an opportunity for the reader to skim. Okay. Sections, create sections and use headings to guide the reader's eyes. Again, there's your purpose. Why are you using sections? To guide the reader's eyes, to help them, and to enable tracking systems to recognize categories. Okay. So this is going to be really helpful in your skills categories. When you're listing your skills, no one wants to see a list of 15 skills. No one. Computers don't want to see a list of 15 skills. Humans don't want to see a list of 15 skills. Now, would we like to see a list of 3 or 4 skills in 3 categories? Yes. So that's where you want to create sections. Templates, use them. I recommend Canva. I have no, Canva doesn't pay me anything. I just use Canva a lot for my marketing, for my professional documents. Uh, I think it's easy to use. It takes care of a lot of the design issues for you. And I just find it very, very efficient. So I like it. It's free. Don't ever pay for anything you don't have to pay for. And they have very, very nice resume templates to use. And they have them according to different sectors and industries. So I like that a lot. Also, watch when you're naming your resume file. Make it easy to know who it's from, what the doc is, and what position. Always put it in a PDF unless they tell you otherwise. Okay. Again, your number one job is not to annoy the reader. Okay, so first name, last name, resume role.pdf. So here's your example: Janet Chavez, resume, technical assistant.pdf. Perfect. Whoever's looking at that knows what job that's for. Because again, you're applying for that one job. They may be receiving files for 15 jobs. So the easier you make it for them, the better. Another one for a cover letter: first name, last name, cover letter, role, PDF. So the example: Ben Johnson, cover letter, technical assistant, PDF. Super easy. If I'm reading them, and I'll tell you right now, I've had the same job for a long time, but I've been on the receiving end. I've been on many, many, many search committees, and I've looked through, in the last 30 years, I've looked through thousands and thousands of cover letters and resumes. And I can tell you right now, when I get those submissions, when it's easy for me to categorize, file, organize, I already like that candidate more. Okay. And sending your resume, don't forget to send from a professional email from Gmail or Outlook. So the old, let's say, I don't know, let's say you don't want to, let's say you're a Dodger fan. You don't want to send from your account like, oh, Padres are awful at hotmail.com. You want to retire that account for the moment, even though personally I think that's a beautiful account. Sorry, Padre fans. Um, but you want to do something with your name at Gmail or Outlook. Okay? Okay, so that's formats and styles. Here's a couple things about formats and styles that might be relevant as well. You're always thinking about, well, do you want a chronological? You're just used to defaulting to a chronological resume. And that's great. That's where you put your most recent job first and list the skills, and then you go on to the next most recent, and so on and so on. Okay, and that's fine, especially if you've been in the same industry or the same sector, or you're kind of new and you haven't had a lot of jobs. But if you are changing sectors or you're seeking to change sectors, you're seeking a new field, you're, mid-career, you might think of a functional resume. So let's say you have been you're seeking a project management job position. And you have been for several years, you were in a not-for-profit organization. And in other times, you were in operations at a retailer. And in another situation, you worked uh, in a biology lab somewhere, and you were working on organizing that lab. So you've done a lot of project management, but it looks like if you did a chronological resume, it looks like you've done a lot of different things and you just kind of bounced around. How are you going to create that spine, that narrative, that line of direction? Well, you do it in a functional resume and show people how through those jobs you've gained all the skills and achievements of project management. So, you need to think for a second about whether you want a chronological or a functional resume, or sometimes a combination. So maybe you want to organize it chronologically, but build that spine within, focusing, for example, on project management skills through those jobs historically. So think about that. It all depends on the job you're looking for, not on the jobs you've had. Remember that. So here's one. There's chronological, just how it might look. It focuses on the most recent work experience. The jobs are listed in reverse chronological order. Education is included, but it's usually included at the end or in a sidebar because the work experience is really what matters, and they need to make sure the education is there, but it probably shouldn't be at the top. It's more like, oh yeah, okay, it's there, they have it. And the functional one, that's going to focus on your skills and experience rather than the chronological work history. When you did stuff matters less than what you did and what was achieved. It's the specific skills and capabilities that need to be emphasized. And then the combo, again, it's a combination of that. Um, you have numerous core competencies you've built up over the years. This is often for a mid-career person who's shifting into a new field or changing sectors or just gathering the skills they've used and really targeting a position for that. Now, what to include and what to cut. I'm going to move my little yellow dot. It seems to be in the middle right there, and I'm not using it too much. Okay. You need to include your contact info, and that means your name, your phone number, your email, and probably your LinkedIn profile info. If you don't have LinkedIn profiles, get one. Keywords are important because your trackers are going to be really looking for those keywords. And when you include those keywords, you're going to be looking at that job description. If you have a resume headline, the words in the job description need to be in that resume headline. One thing you're going to start noticing me say over and over and over again, it's all about the job description. So you're not working on creating the one perfect resume because that doesn't happen, I'm afraid. Because in so many ways, this isn't about you. This is, remember, about highlighting how you are relevant to the position and the company you're applying to. So there's going to be a lot of changes and tweaks as you move forward. It's all about your audience. It's all about your audience. Okay, so that job description needs to be front and center at all times. Now, you should have an objective or a summary, and what you choose is going to depend. It should appear at the top, and it's tailored to the position. Again, you're going to hear that again and again. It's tailored to the position. It references keywords from the job posting. Now, if you're writing an objective, that's future facing, and it's an explanation of your goals and how you plan to impact the company. It's really important that you focus on this second part, how you plan to impact the company. Yes, we know you want to advance your career and expand your horizons and, have a growth mentality and all that kind of stuff. Everyone says it. But how are you going to impact the company? That's what should be included in your company, in your objective. Objectives are future facing. If you are relatively new to the industry, if you're new to the job market, if you don't have a lot of work experience, objectives are going to be your plan. If you have a lot of work experience, if you're mid-career, summaries are going to be more important to you. That is a past-facing explanation of your achievements. And again, the most important thing, how they relate to the company and position that you're applying to. It can't just be a list of your achievements and how awesome you are. It has to be written in relation to the position you're applying to. So the ends of these sentences are what matter. It's good to have a skills section. It's not good to have 15 bullet points of a skills section that just run on forever, because realistically, people are going to look at the first couple. So the recommendation is to create categories. Maybe you have technical skills, maybe you have project management skills, and maybe you have qualitative skills. Maybe you want to put 3 or 4 skills in each of those categories. And if you can't categorize your skills, the prospective employer isn't going to be able to either. Every time you make the employer synthesize or do the heavy lifting of your resume, you've annoyed them. They're not going to do that work. They're going to go on to the next candidate. So categorize for them, create buckets of your skills. Help them know the sections, the categories that you're really good at. All right. Put your work experience, obviously, your education, and you might want to include in your education your certifications that are tailored for and relevant to the specific position, and that includes education as well. So, for example, I have an undergraduate degree. I have 2 undergraduate degrees. One's in the humanities and one's in natural sciences. So I tend to, when I'm applying, when I'm doing work or applying for grants and stuff in In the humanities, I include my humanities degrees. Okay, I kind of leave off the natural sciences degree. It doesn't really help. Okay. Volunteer work and internships, again, that are relevant to the position, relevant to the job posting. You have a little leeway there, but I may want to let go of that paper route I had when, or the bake sales I ran when I was 16. I might want to let go of that at this point. Okay. Links are helpful because that way if people want to know more, they can click on them and get to them. So links to your cover letter, a portfolio of your work, your LinkedIn profile, that can be very helpful. And again, for clarity, use bullet points when you can. Okay, now the important stuff. What to cut, what to exclude. You need to cut information that doesn't have anything to do with the job description to which you're responding. Let it go. You've got one page. Every word should matter. Cut an objective statement that isn't customized to the job. Remember, you are not writing or crafting that one amazing resume. If you're applying to 10 jobs, you are crafting 10 appropriate resumes. And that's a tough thing to really metabolize, but it's what you have to do today. You need to cut long lists of skills or responsibilities. Nobody's going to read them. And we're going to talk about this more in a little bit. You want to try to focus on your accomplishments, not just on what you did. Nobody cares what you did. People care about results and accomplishments. So I'm going to show you a formula that will help you describe your accomplishments rather than just what you did. You want to cut old or irrelevant job history. Okay. Or if you're going to include something that might be kind of irrelevant, you want to choose an angle to show how that skill, a skill within that position, is relevant to the current position you're applying to. For example, maybe I had a retail job back in the day, and but it provided me with a lot of work with the public. And let's say a job I'm applying to now where there's project management and I'm going to have to be working with a lot of community members. Well, that could be a useful aspect of that retail job. Now, stacking sweaters at the Gap? No, that's not terribly helpful and relevant. But the fact that I was able to talk to 200 people on a Saturday at the mall back in the day, that could be relevant to dealing with a chamber, community members at a Chamber of Commerce meeting, if you can talk about it that way. Okay. You want to cut redundancy. You want to focus on quality, not quantity. So you don't need to keep repeating those jobs. I don't need to say I worked at the Gap and then I worked at, I don't know, I'm going to list them all, like Old Navy, or, you don't have to keep talking about all those retail jobs. You can just use one to be illustrative of the kind of skill that you gained from doing so. Show the range that's relevant. Forget about your headshot and your physical address. Physical addresses aren't relevant anymore. And your headshot is taking up valuable real estate on that one page. And there's a reasonable chance that that could hurt you more than help you. Okay. You want to cut resume fonts that make it hard to skim your resume. So don't cram, don't reduce your font. There is a chance that there's a very decent chance that the person reading your resume, and people do read resumes. Yes, they go through trackers, but people do read your resume. And chances are the people who read your resumes will need things like this. These things called glasses. And again, your whole goal is not to annoy people. And if I'm squinting and I can't see stuff because it's so small, it's so tiny, I'm just going on to the next one. Don't make me go on to the next one. Okay. How are you going to include that information? It's as important as what you're going to include. And here's the XYZ method. And let me explain. 90% of the resumes I see, of the thousands and thousands of resumes I see, just list what people do in their jobs or what they did in their jobs. I reviewed budgets, blah, blah, blah. I uh, supervised a team. I coordinated, blah, blah, blah. So what? What did you achieve? What were the results? To what end? What were the accomplishments? I don't care about what you did. I care about what you achieved. So the XYZ method helps you articulate that. It helps you to highlight accomplishments and results rather than just list what you did and what your responsibilities were. In other words, I don't need to know what you did and what your responsibilities were. I need to know how well you did at them. So here's the formula, basically. I accomplished X as measured by Y by doing Z. Now, you don't need to worry too much about exactly articulating it that way, but here's an example of me moving from what to a results-oriented XYZ here. So for me, what? I lead short-term international study programs. Well, bully for me. So what? That's great. What's the big deal? All right, let me try to rephrase with some sort of accomplishment in mind. And here I've color coded it. So what's the result? Students gain a global perspective. How? Well, meeting business leaders on the international study tours I lead. Better? Better? Can I get some numbers in there to really show results? So there's one with accomplishments. That middle one, it shows accomplishment. Can I get numbers in there to show like real results? I sure can. More than 500 Redlands students have gained a global perspective meeting business leaders in 27 countries and counting on the international study tours I lead. Boom, I got 527 countries. You now get a real sense of accomplishment and results. Got 500 students, 27 countries. Now you'll notice there's a lot of words there, and that can be pretty challenging, let's say, for someone to ask someone to look through all those words in a resume. That would be one bullet point, right? But now, do I have to include 15 bullet points in terms of what I do in that position as professor at the University of Redlands? No, I can probably reduce it to 3 because a big component of my job are these international study tours, and I don't have to break it down into like 8 bullet points of all the things I do on those tours, like manage the budget or coordinate the logistics or work with vendors, uh, arrange meetings with businesses. I don't have to list all the whats because I'm focusing on the achievement. So I have turned what probably would have been 8 or 9 yucky bullets, what bullets, into one achievement bullet. People will read that one achievement bullet. So the added benefit of that one achievement bullet is I've created a tiny story, a very tiny story, and stories captivate. There's not a lot, there's no wasted words in there. Okay, so I'm not inundating people with wasted words. Every word's doing some heavy lifting. And this way, I'm focusing on the achievement. So don't tell me about I manage budgets. Bring in the numbers of the budget, how you increased efficiency, by what percentage, all that kind of stuff. Don't just say you manage budgets. What did you accomplish? What were the results? If you can do this to your resume, you will reduce 15 bullets into 3 achievement bullets that will have impact. Now, how do you start thinking about your achievements? Here's some questions for you. Think about, do a little inventory for yourself. What problems have you solved? When and how do you go above and beyond at work? Have you broken any records? Have you built or implemented a tool that saves money or time? Have you simplified a process? What do you do at work that your colleagues don't? Make yourself a little inventory and then create an accomplishment bullet, an XYZ bullet about that. And that's the kind of information to include on a resume. I will say, I'll take a moment here, and we're almost getting to the end here. You want to cut the buzzwords. Please cut the buzzwords. They don't mean anything to anybody. These are the buzzwords. Look at them. Passionate, passionate and motivated. If I see, I really should just find people who use passionate and motivated on their resume. Do you think anybody says, well, I'm kind of apathetic and I really don't care? Do you think anybody says that on their resume? Come on, or their LinkedIn? Come on. You know what? Those are words that are just wasting space. Here's a whole bunch of overused ones, all here. Focused. What do you want? I'm distracted. I'm a distracted, apathetic employee. Come on. Use active language, right? So you want to make sure your verbs are active and that they are accurate. So, you want to get a nice list of verbs going that really captivate what you did, right? And they can actually cut down on the namby-pamby, like useless weak verbs, right? So, did you, for example, accelerate development of the company's inaugural business internship program? Do you collaborate with a team of 8 people to raise 1 point? These are all done in ABC format, or sorry, XYZ format, right? So you have achievement oriented. They don't take a lot of words, but they've created tiny stories. They have results in them. Look at that. You supervised, you implemented. That means you got it done. You designed, you enhanced. In other words, see, these are verbs that really create a picture and show results. So watch that. If you want, go ahead and look at the Career Contessa. This is the live link on how to cut buzzwords and get active. It's a great resource site, but just start thinking about the words you're using. Make sure every word does some heavy lifting and works for you rather than against you. Okay, so a couple words about applicant tracking systems. Quick little note here. 75% of job seekers fail to pass through the applicant tracking systems. And the reasons? Kind of simple. The formatting font or file is unreadable. So make sure the formatting's clear, the font is clear, and it's a PDF. Simple. And the resume fails to mention or feature the keywords hiring managers and recruiters seek. And do you know where you find those words? In the job description. Get the job description out, get a highlighter out, or get it highlighted on your screen, find those keywords, and make sure you're using them in your resume. So here's how to make it AT applicant tracking system friendly. Keep your formatting clear and simple. Use those friendly templates like in Canva. Use those good fonts. Label your each section correctly by reviewing the terminology of the job posting. So if the job posting says work experience, then use the phrase work experience as your category on your resume and not just experience. Save it as a PDF unless instructed otherwise, and avoid acronyms that the ATS might not recognize. I know acronyms shorten things, but if the ATS isn't going to recognize it, what's the point? And again, prioritize your resume headline and your objective by really focusing on the vocabulary of the job description. The Career Contessa does have a little, you can uh, create ATS friendly resumes. So there's a resource there. Go ahead and have a look at it. But these are the basic concepts for getting through and not being one of those 75% that doesn't make it through. Here are some examples for creating resume headlines that resonate with job postings. So here's the title: Seeking Senior Social Media Manager for E-commerce Startup. So your resume headline should be something like Experienced Senior Social Media Manager with 10 years experience launching and growing e-commerce sites. Here's one: Project Manager at ABC Hospital. Dedicated Healthcare. Healthcare is going to actually match up there. Project Manager, Project Manager. Okay. You want to make sure. You can test your resume's ATS friendliness at this site. So you might want to do that. Okay, so that brings us to the end. We looked at the purpose of resumes and how to create a purposeful resume, formats and styles, what to include and what to cut, how to include that information, that's the XYZ, cutting those buzzwords, using active verbs, and a little moment about applicant tracking systems. So with that, I want to thank you and encourage you to really focus on the job descriptions as you work on building resumes that are relevant to specific jobs. Good luck. Let me know how it works out.